Yanis everybody, and welcome back to Meraki TV, where Greek Australians meet to celebrate. Tonight on the show we visit the fundraiser for Share with Africa, we travel to where the ancients considered the centre of the earth, Delphi, Femi shows us an experiment for air pressure, Helen whips up some delicious Spanakopita Croquettes, and we delve into how the bee got its sting according to Greek mythology. First up though, we are very excited to have freelance journalist Gina Poulos join our ranks tonight. Gina has been focusing as of late on the project The Lucky Country that highlights the struggles and triumphs of ordinary people of diverse ethnicities in the lucky country. Tonight she brings us renowned economist, politician and academic Yiannis Varoufakis, who was brought to worldwide attention for his role in Greece's negotiation with Troika and the historic Ochi vote. Much has been said about that, but we often don't get to understand the history behind the person of these major events. Gina was lucky enough to sit down with Yiannis and chat about his affiliations with Australia and much, much more.
Thank you, Yiannis, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
You left Greece as an 18-year-old to study in England like many Greek students. You completed a doctorate in economics and got your first academic position at the University of Essex. What prompted you to leave England and travel all the way to Australia?
Thatcherism. 10 years of living under Maggie Thatcher in Britain was an exercise in depression. That was a very depressing period, a period of mass unemployment, of constant cuts in the university. So I lived all my life, both as a student and as an academic, in universities, and the universities were just absolutely miserable. I got a telegram back in the old days of telegrams from the University of Sydney offering me a position completely out of the blue. I had not applied for it and turned it down initially. And then I got a second telegram saying, don't be silly, come for 6 months and if you don't like it, you return, which I did.
Right.
And I stayed.
I'm glad you did. What were your first impressions of Australia?
I loved it. Firstly, the weather. After Cambridge and East Anglia and Essex, I got a small flat in Bondi. And I was commuting between the beach and the university, and I thought, why have I not done this years ago? It was absolutely wonderful. And also Australian, that was 1988. In 1988, under the Labour government at the time, there was an air of progress, of optimism. Multiculturalism was well established at the time. It was a very progressive society at the time.
So tell me about your Australian life. What did you enjoy about living in Australia? And are there any other points to consider in relation to your life in Britain?
Well, what I enjoyed the most was the University of Sydney, the campus. I really loved living there because I would spend most of my day and night on campus. I really enjoyed the campus itself. It was a very pleasant campus. It was nice to be able to look at the city, downtown, from the hill where Sydney University is located, without actually having to go into the city. And then bypassing the city, going to Bondi Beach for a swim. So the combination of my office, the library, cinemas nearby in the Glebe area, Newtown area, downtown, the beach, the gym, the office, the library, the cinema, that was the circuit that ruled my life while I was there.
Do you still follow Australian politics? Any special mentions?
Well, I do try to keep up with the goings on in Australia's political economy. But I find it very depressing to be perusing the news regarding the political shenanigans, the way in which the office of the Prime Minister has been completely denigrated by a series of coups within the party rooms, beginning with the way in which Kevin Rudd was overthrown. And then now it's so difficult to catch up, to keep up with who the Prime Minister is and what the various plots against him or her might be. And it's a political process which is completely meaningless. It's not a clash of ideas, of ideologies, of political priorities, of policies. Here you've got just a clash of personalities, and very ugly personalities at that. Where is Paul Keating? You know, where you know, even people like John Hewson, that used to be a joke back then. I appreciate him now. He was a towering figure compared to the current crop.
Even as the gap divides between the haves and have-nots, well, it widens in Australia, people still feel that class is not destiny in Australia, as it seems to be in Britain and the old world. What do you say to that?
Well, this is a very favourite and well-entrenched illusion that the Australians have about themselves. This idea that Australia is a classless society is one of the national myths.
You don't think that a student or a child from a working class family can break out of that cycle and become successful and I guess change their class?
Not more so than in other countries that don't have this myth. It used to be the case. In the Australia that I knew, up until the 1990s, that was true. So if in the 1970s, especially after the reforms by Gough Whitlam, you managed to get into university from a working class background, you did well. And you could climb on the strength of your own resources and capacities. Now, no. This is, the universities are no longer operating like the springboard that catapult people from one social class to another. You end up with large student debt. The quality of education you get is minuscule compared to what you used to get. And even if you do get it, the deindustrialization of Australian society and the conversion of whole sectors of the economy into rent-seeking, real estate-based, resource-based, a very primitive form of capital accumulation, to put it in economic terms, makes it very difficult for substantial numbers of young people to rise up.
Was Australia once the lucky country for you, and do you believe it still is?
No, I always thought that this expression is very stupid. No country is lucky. You make your luck. The people of Australia have done an enormous amount of work in that country, and they have done it very well to create a social democracy, to create Medicare, to create a social security system that works much better than in many other parts of the world, especially in Europe. But that wasn't luck. It was hard work. It was hard struggles. It was trade unions fighting for rights. It was women fighting for rights. It was not a matter of luck. It was a matter of hard work and endeavour.
Lastly, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Well, I would very much like not to have to do politics anymore, and to be able to stay at home and write my books, and give the occasional lecture and go to meetings and have fun. And that's my aspiration. But I very much fear that I will still be in this political arena that is the place for struggling to maintain the vision of a democratic future.
Well, good luck with your new party, and thank you very much for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tina.
I love science, so today I'm going to show you an experiment about air pressure, or as your mum and dad might know it, as the Cadbury Dairy Milk experiment. For this experiment, you'll need 1 boiled egg, avro, a glass bottle, bukali, matches, spirta, and paper, harti. First up, you'll need to light the tip of your paper, then quickly put it in, and then you'll put your egg on top of the bottle and hold it there and wait for it to pop in. When we lit the paper and put it in the bottle, we heated up the air molecules, which made it less dense. The cooler air molecules outside the bottle had a higher pressure, therefore pushing the egg into the bottle. Science is cool, huh? See you guys next time.
The bee is an anomaly in many ways. According to all known laws of aviation, there is no way a bee should be able to fly. Its wings are too small for its fat little body to get off the ground. However, it flies anyway and arrogantly flaunts many laws. It's also unique in the animal kingdom in that its sting, that is used to defend itself, results in its own untimely death. But how did this come to be? Well, Greek mythology has an answer for everything, and this question is no exception. Hear now how the bee got its sting according to Greek mythology.
How the bee got its sting. It was common knowledge that Zeus was quite the playboy in his time. So when it was announced that he was finally settling down with Hera, goddess of marriage and the life of women, it was implied that the event would be bigger and greater than even Harry and Meghan Markle. To add to the celebrations, Zeus issued a challenge. He would allow whoever presented the glowing couple with the best and most original wedding dish that they would have the great honour of being allowed to ask any favour from the king of the gods. This sent the kingdom into a flurry. All matter of beasts went into a cooking frenzy, all eager to have their request granted by the great Zeus. Once the nuptials were over, Hera and Zeus, methodically and with great delight, tasted each and every one of the marvellous treats placed before them. The competition was fierce. Until lastly, a tiny bee approached with a small bowl filled with what seemed to be liquid gold. Zeus dipped his finger in and tasted the amber liquid. Instantly, he raised his eyebrows and motioned to Hera.
You have to try this.
Hera copied Zeus's actions, and her reaction was ecstatic. "What is this magic liquid?" she exclaimed.
I call it honey,
buzzed the little bee. Zeus and Hera looked at each other and instantly knew they had found the winner.
What is your name, little bee?
Melissa.
She proudly announced.
Well, Melissa,
said Zeus.
what is the favour you would ask of your god of gods?
Before she made her request, she took great pains to tell of the ordeal creating her decadent honey was.
My lord, in order to get just a small bowl, I must zoom from flower to flower and collect each flower's sweetest nectar, which only holds the tiniest amount. I fly it back to the nest and out I go again. Then late into the night, exhausted from the day, I begin my special process. And my lord, many of the animals have learnt of my special nectar, and they raid and steal without a second thought. Oh, great one, please give me a weapon to defend myself and my nectar. The scorpion has a deadly sting, and he doesn't even produce anything of value. Please, please, Lord, grant me a fatal sting that will kill anyone who tries to steal from me ever again.
A dark cloud passed over Zeus's face. He was considering playing on the words of the competition, saying,
The winner could ask for any favour, not necessarily have it granted.
When he had a better idea.
I decree that from this day forth, you, Melissa, will now have a colony of bees to collect nectar, and you will be their queen. And I will grant you a deadly and incredibly painful sting.
Melissa grinned from ear to ear.
But
Zeus continued.
The one you sting will feel the pain, but it is you and your kind to whom the sting will be deadly.
And so it is. Interestingly, Melissa is Greek for bee, and the group of insects that bees belong to are called Hymenoptera, which is Greek for wedding wings.
Hi guys, and welcome back to Helen's Gazina. It's so good to be back with you all here at Meraki TV. And tonight I'm going to show you a little bit of a twist on a croquette. It's a Spanakopita croquette. Why not, I say. So for this little number, this is what you're going to need. I've got some flour, I've got some beautiful breadcrumbs, I have some spinach that I've lightly fried, not a lot, just a quick toss in the pan and out again. The same with some red onion. I've got 3 eggs, I've got some mashed potato. So I've boiled my potatoes and I've mashed them. No salt, no nothing, because we're going to spice it all up soon. I've got some grated cheese and I've got some ricotta. We're going to start with the inside of the mixture. So as I said, we've got some beautiful spinach that has been lightly pan fried. I've got some red onion that I've pan fried. I've got some ricotta, a little bit of shredded cheese. I'm going to put a little bit of flour in here because we really want to get that gooey consistency. We've got 1 egg here, a little bit of pepper, and a little bit of breadcrumb, just so that we can take some of that moisture out. So what you're looking for here, guys, is something that you can actually put in your hands and roll, but gently roll. So you may need a little bit more flour or a little bit more breadcrumb just to get that consistency so that it's not gooey or not too moist. So you don't want it too dry either, because the whole idea of this is when you're making your croquette and these go in the center of it, it has that explosion of cheese once you bite into it. Now we're just rolling these into little kind of quills. So we've got our cheese fills ready to go. Now we're going to put together our potato croquette. I've got my mashed potato that I made before, no salt and pepper, just boil them and mash them really well. So to that we're going to add 1/4 cup of flour and now 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs, salt and pepper, and now 2 eggs. So what you're looking for here, guys, is a really nice consistency that you can actually mold in your hands. So you don't want it too moist and you don't want it too dry. So you may need to add a little bit more flour or a little bit more breadcrumb. Also bedni, as the Greeks would say. So here's what you're looking for in the consistency. As you can see, it's not sticking to my hands. It's nice and moldable. Okay guys, so now it's about putting our croquettes together. Take a handful of your potato, give it a good little pat. Likes to be loved. You might want to flour your hands as well so that it makes it easier for the task. So flatten it out. As you can see, I've got like a little patty here, and I'm going to insert my cheese inside of my potato. Keep molding and molding. So if you've ever made gubes, very similar to that, although some people do make gubes in a very different way. But what I've done is simply rolled it until it gets that lovely croquette shape. So now's the fun part, guys. I've got 2 eggs that I'm going to lightly beat because we're going to coat our croquettes. Always gets you this one. Do you do the egg, do you do the flour, do you do the breadcrumb first? This is how you should be doing it. Flour, egg, breadcrumb. Flour, egg, breadcrumb. Here we go, they're done. I'm just going to pop them into the freezer. I'm going to put these in the freezer for about 15 minutes just to chill them up so that they're easier to handle, and more importantly, they'll crisp up when they fry. So you don't want your oil too hot because the potato will just fall apart. The oil is just right. So if you have a close look, you'll see exactly how it's simmering away, and that's how it should be bubbling. No need to move them around too much. Once they're in there, let them sit there for a few minutes before you do anything. Then once they've been in there for about a minute, start giving them a bit of a spin so that they can cook on all sides. You'll know they're cooked once you pull it out and it's nice and brown on the outside. So that's it, guys. Here is our Spanakopita croquettes, and they are delicious. An absolute winner. Drizzle with a little bit of mayonnaise, sprinkle with a bit of zhuzh, and off you go.
Delphi, it may be argued, was actually more important to the ancients than even the Acropolis. To them, it was the center of the earth, and a pilgrimage there not only showed devotion, but would also come with an opportunity to consult with an oracle, the Pythia, the direct line to the gods. Who could pass up an opportunity for that? Next on our travel series, Delphi.
Delphi. Just a 2.5-hour drive from Athens lies one of the most important sites from ancient Greece, Delphi. Sitting at the foot of Mount Parnassus, it was considered to be the centre of the earth, or as the ancients called it, the navel, or omphalos. The myth tells us that Zeus released 2 eagles, one to the east, the other to the west. The point where they met was Delphi. As with the many of the sacred sites, the drive to Delphi can be quite harrowing, so unless you're very confident, I recommend you board one of the many bus routes or private car tours that will safely get you here. The town of Delphi is a snow ski resort in winter, but during the summer months, it's a beautiful and quaint mountainside escape. Once you've meandered through the streets and enjoyed a meal with a panoramic view, it's an easy walk down to the ruins for one of the most breathtaking sights you may ever see. There is an energy here, a stillness even amongst the throng of tourists. When you stand here, you understand why the ancients picked it as sacred. I thoroughly recommend joining a tour group to peruse these ruins so you can get a full understanding and appreciation of the complexities of the site. The many temples dedicated to different gods, and of course, the most important of all, the spot where the Pythia, the oracle, would sit and answer the faithful's questions in vague and very uncertain terms. When the heat becomes too much, wander down to the museum where you can see more of the marvels that have been rescued from the elements and scale mock-ups of exactly how the site looked in ancient times. You can do Delphi in a day. There certainly are many tours from Athens that will do just that, but personally, it's not an experience you want to rush.
Every year there is a fundraiser by Greek Orthodox Christians for Africa, aptly named Share with Africa. Over the last few years it has grown from a small outpouring of goodwill to a fully fledged charity event. Anna Sebo was lucky enough to catch the last one before COVID shut down.
I'm here with Father Constantine and Peter from the organising committee of the Share with Africa Foundation. Father Constantine is representing also the Archdiocese. But yeah, what an amazing event tonight, Sikharitiria. It's been going for how long?
The assistance to Africa has been taking place for many, many years from various parishes in various shapes and forms. This particular event grew out of a desire to help Sierra Leone, and then with the wishes of His Eminence, it broadened itself to cover Congo and Kenya, where in Kenya alone there are over 1 million Orthodox. So the need was there. And over a period of time, more and more people have come to support. The organising committee is a very unique committee in the sense that we don't have a treasurer or president or a secretary. We gather around a table and we simply share the tasks. And that's
what a wonderful way to get work done.
It is, because that's the emphasis on outcomes rather than positions.
The reason for this event, supporting the feeding of children, and then we broadened it into this event, and also of recent, we have been supporting the Congo as well, where you have a whole university, Greek Orthodox University in the Congo, the support of medical needs of many people in Africa as well. So this event, Share with Africa, has been basically for the Congo, Sierra Leone and Kenya. As was said today, our missionary work is not something that forces our Greek Orthodoxy on to the African people. It's something that works with them, which is a great thing, and that's why the Greek Orthodox Church is so well respected, and the Greek nation, in fact, is so well respected in Africa.
5 years ago we raised 40-odd thousand, it went to 70, it went to 92. Year before last we raised about 120-odd. Last year we hit a record of 180. But we should emphasise that the greatest need at the moment is not so much in dealing with hunger. That more or less has been taken care of. The big emphasis now is on being able to educate these children in the most proper manner from a very early age, because education is the only escape route out of their situation. It's not enough to feed someone. It's the old adage of give me a fish, you feed me for the day. Teach me to fish, you feed me for a lifetime.
Is there avenue for these children to try and better their lives? Because the pictures we see is that it doesn't matter, there's nowhere to go. Is the country building infrastructure so that they can actually work to a higher level of life?
Well, you cannot work to a higher level simply by having a system. You need people.
Yes.
You need those parts, and those parts, the most valuable commodity is your human being, and then empowering that human being with knowledge and capabilities. That's why the emphasis on education. You have the education, you combine it with capital from the outside, wonders can happen.
So, boys, if after tonight somebody still wants to donate some money to this worthy cause, how can they give?
We can provide bank account details through you, and the money that goes there is only for the purpose of helping Africa. It does not go anywhere else, nowhere else. And there are no administration fees. And what you saw tonight, everything was donated. Literally everything was donated. Very, very few expenses, so there are no administration costs.
Boys, congratulations on a wonderful event. We look forward to next year, and we look forward to you continuing to receive many donations for the wonderful work that is being done.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. God bless you.
Guys, what a huge show! I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Make sure you send all your feedback via the contact tab on our website, www.meraki.tv. Keep in touch with all things Meraki via our Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and download our app to stay up to date. A big thank you to all our guests tonight, Yiannis Varoufakis, Gina Poulos, and Father Constantine and Peter. Until next week, I'm Dimitra Kalinitha.